All right, council, this is time set for evidentiary hearing on a motion to suppress that's been filed on behalf of Mr. Archuleta. Record will reflect that I did approve television coverage. They're here today. The video's on now. Okay. All right, with that,
Really?
yes, they made a request to come cover this, and I granted it.
Interesting.
All right, well, we are a public forum.
Well, I understand it, but it's been such a long time, we've actually,
You don't want to do media stuff?
no, I'm okay with that.
Right. Opening statement.
Your Honor, we're actually just here for an evidentiary hearing. Mr. Boyle felt like there were some things that weren't covered in the preliminary hearing that he would like to have on the record for the suppression hearing. The
Okay.
state's basically covered all of the information we thought was relevant, so I'm just gonna let Mr. Boyle ask the questions that he feels like he needs to.
All right, Mr. Boyle, who would you like to hear from?
Why don't we do, this officer,
Tomlinson or Tolworth?
well, let's start with Tomlinson first, so we'll establish context.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony about presenting this hearing now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Absolutely, please.
He's gonna spend a lot of time rehash this in.
No, I didn't know. Officer Tomlinson, can you please state your full name, spell your last name for the record?
Officer Tyler Tomlinson, last name Tonlinson.
Just to put this into context, you were called to an incident involving Mr. Archuleta, and in fact, that made him a violation of protective order, is that right?
Yes, sir.
That was in Riverdale City.
Yes, sir. Call for service.
Was there any other officer besides yourself that responded to that particular call?
Yes, there's a lot of officers.
Okay. There's you and there's another officer that's currently here in court today,
Officer
correct? So at some point, you make contact with Mr. Archuleta, is that right?
Yes, I do.
Where do you first see him at?
Other officers have found him near the location. He's out on foot. They detained him and brought him back to his vehicle.
Okay. And so you had contact with him at the vehicle?
Yeah, I met with him at the vehicle.
And where was the vehicle parked in relation to the entranceway of the trailer park?
So the address of the trailer park is 5648 South, 150 West. And it would have been southeast just of the exit of the trailer park.
Was it right at the exit, or was it some distance back from the exit?
I would pretty much label it right at the exit.
So the exit, for that particular trailer park, that trailer park is below street level, right?
Yeah, eventually it goes down below street level.
Okay. So but the exit's actually at street level, right?
Correct.
Where it comes out at. And are there any guardrails or fencing that are right by the entrance to that trailer park?
The exit, there's some fencing, property fencing.
And that fencing is not directly next to the roadway, it's some distance back from the roadway,
Yeah, there's like a shoulder.
shoulder. You know how wide that shoulder is?
I don't.
Is it mainly just grass and gravel?
Grass and gravel.
There's no curve there from the roadway, right?
A curve?
Curve,
Oh, curve, no curve. There is a curve, and then a curve.
and again, I know that you testified previously that your vehicle as well as Officer Fuller's vehicle is parked some distance from that trailer park exit, right?
Right, so we would have been northwest of the victim's address. And he was like a southeast from the victim's address.
And your involvement in this particular case is that you made contact with Mr. Archuleta at his vehicle
Correct.
and you attempt to question him about what happened that night?
I did, read him around, we did an interview.
And did he have a conversation with you or talk to you at all?
We did.
At some point, did you decide to place him under arrest?
I did.
And it was you that made that decision?
Correct.
And what was the reason for the arrest?
Violation of protective order.
At the time that you arrested him, that would have been in the area right next to his vehicle, correct?
We were literally right next to the vehicle.
Okay.
When I showed up, officers had already like taking some of his belongings out of his pocket around the hood of his car.
Yeah. But nobody had gotten into the vehicle at that time?
Not that I know.
You didn't see any doors open?
No.
Lights weren't on, this was at nighttime, correct?
Car vehicle off.
Okay. And so you placed him in handcuffs, did you then take him to your patrol vehicle?
I don't recall if I placed him in handcuffs. I believe he was already in handcuffs, possibly. I may have put my handcuffs on and swapped. It's kind of a standard procedure there. And then I put him in the back of my vehicle.
Okay, and your vehicle was,
I had to go get it. I believe I drove it up to where he was.
he was, did you activate your lights as you were coming to that area?
Like, the company came up,
Yes.
my like red and blue lights.
Something that would trigger video.
You know, I don't recall.
And,
I doubt it.
and you didn't manually trigger the video upon making contact?
I had a body camera on, and that's, you know, that was, I believe that was continuously rolling for this whole time.
Okay,
There might have been some breaks in contact.
and have you reviewed that body camera before, that body camera video before coming to court today?
I haven't.
And you know, was that body camera not provided to the county attorney's office?
If it is,
Has it been?
I don't know. I have to check with the LPD.
Who makes the decision to take custody of the vehicle or to search the vehicle?
I asked Officer Fuller to impound the vehicle for safety, drivers of us.
And that's what you testified to, the preliminary hearing, wasn't it?
Correct.
Did Officer Fuller understand what that meant?
Yeah.
And so, but you weren't there during the time of the inventory or the opening of Mr. Archuleta's vehicle, is that right?
No, when the vehicle was open, we were either on our way or at the jail.
Okay, so you are you saying you did see them open the vehicle?
No, I did not see them open.
You didn't see any officers in the vehicle or any officer in the vehicle?
No,
So you'd already left the scene at that point?
correct.
I have no further questions from the students.
State have any?
Just a couple. I apologize, Your Honor, I don't have, a printed out photo, but Mr. Boyle, I do have this on my surface if you want to kind of ask him to demonstrate where that was.
Is that a Google shot of the?
Yep.
gun? Okay. You want to do that?
Where the car was parked, is that a parking area?
No, it's not, it's a shoulder.
Maybe approach, Your Honor, kind of show the court as well, Mr. Boyle, you can come up.
Yeah.
Officer Thomas, if you can come over. Just for the record, this is Google Maps that I pulled up. I think that's the closest that I can get.
Okay.
Can you identify kind of where that car was?
So this would be the exit, coming up this little slope, and then the vehicle would have been right here in the shoulder.
Do you remember if any part of it was on the roadway or if it was off the roadway in the area?
I don't recall if the tire would touch the roadway or not. However, everything's right there where it's obstructing cars exiting.
When you say obstructing cars exiting, so was it actually keeping cars from exit or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so if you were to come out, you probably look left, look right. If you were to look left, that curve in the slant.
In addition to that, your policy in Riverdale, if someone's being arrested and there's cars parked, what's your policy as far as?
So, in our policy where he's the driver and he's the registered owner, and the safety of the vehicle. Not to mention where, this is the victim's house here, it's like a $30,000-$40,000 car. I'm not gonna just send him to jail, leave this $40,000 car sitting on the shoulder, or whatever to happen to it, so.
And there was a protective order in place at this location.
Okay.
I don't, did that all, on the microphone? Sorry. comment from there for the record.
No, it's recording,
Okay, thank you.
but the visual part is difficult.
I don't have any further questions, Joe.
In fact, are you gonna have to submit a hard copy of that?
I will print off a hard copy that approximate that. I'll have Mr. Boyle look at it. We'll submit it with the brief.
Go ahead, Mr. Warren.
You indicated that that place, that shoulder is not a place for parking.
No,
Okay. Now, there's no signage, correct?
not that I, no.
We went through this before the preliminary hearing, you probably remember that, right? So there's no red marking because there's no curb, there's no marking on the curb, because there's no curb there, right, indicating they can't park there.
Yeah, there's no markings or signage.
And there's nothing on that fence, there's a fence in that photograph, correct?
Yeah.
That was the fence you were talking about,
The property fence.
and this property line fence? Do you remember how high that is?
I don't, I could guess,
It's not, is it 6 feet, you think, or is it maybe shorter than that?
I think between 4.5 feet.
Okay, now, there's nothing that's posted on that fence that borders that property indicating
Not that I know.
that no one, you can't park there, right?
Not that
No further questions.
I know. Thank you.
You may stand down, officer. Thank you. Next, who would you like to hear from?
Officer Fuller.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony about to present in this hearing now before
Yes.
the court will be the
Yes.
truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Go ahead.
Officer Fuller, please state your full name, spell your last name for the record.
My name is Kevin Fuller, my last name is spelled F-U-L-L-E-R.
And you were a Riverdale City police officer, is that right?
Yes,
Currently retired?
yes,
You were a Riverdale City police officer on the date of question in this particular case, correct?
yes.
Do you remember when you appeared on scene? You know, if you came before or after, Officer Thomason?
Officer Thomas, I pretty much arrived at the same time.
Yeah. Now, he's previously testified that, Mr. Archuleta was already at his vehicle by the time he came into contact with him. Were you the one who came in contact with Mr. Archuleta first?
No,
Were you at the vehicle when you saw Officer Thomason approach?
what do you mean?
Were you there standing there with Mr. Archuleta at the time that Officer Thomason came into contact with Mr. Archuleta?
I don't recall if I was standing there, I may have been across the roadway dealing with witnesses or else.
Okay, did you have a body camera yourself?
Yes,
Did you download that body camera video into the mainframe or server at the Riverdale City Police Department, or does that happen automatically?
well, we plug it in and it downloads from what I understand.
So when did you come into contact with Mr. Archuleta?
Shortly after I'd seen his vehicle parked there, we had some other officers that had responded from, I think, South Ogden and Roy, and I don't even remember exactly who that was, but, shortly after that, there was a couple officers over by in front of his car, and Mr. Archuleta came walking up the exit that, Officer Thompson showed you,
Yeah.
and walked toward his car.
And that's when you came into contact with Mr. Archuleta?
That's the first time I saw him.
Yeah. And were you the one who then placed him in handcuffs and then took the items out of his pockets?
No, sir.
Did you see somebody else do that?
Another officer did, yeah.
And at some point, Officer Thompson enters the picture, right? Or
Yes.
comes in contact with Mr. Archuleta. How long was Officer Thompson there before you began the inventory search?
Officer Tomlinson had left or was preparing to leave before I started the inventory.
Okay. Who told you to conduct the inventory or to impound the vehicle?
Officer Tomlinson asked me to impound the vehicle because he was being, or Isaac was being arrested.
Now, you have a written policy regarding impounding vehicles at Riverdale City.
Yes,
Have you reviewed that policy?
not recently.
Okay. But you reviewed it prior to the incident in this case, right?
Yeah, probably several months.
So if I asked you off the top of your head exactly what that policy says, would you be able to tell me that?
Well, I've been retired for about 3 months. I've kind of gotten rid of that, so I probably couldn't accurately.
So whatever the policy says, that's what you remember reading at the time of reviewing, right? That policy hasn't changed?
I don't think it's changed since 2014.
So, how'd you begin how'd you begin the impound itself?
Well, we call for a tow truck to respond, and then we usually get into the vehicle, and this particular time we get into the vehicle and just start inventorying all of the property that's inside the vehicle, both inside the passenger compartment and the trunk.
Okay. So, tow truck was called prior to entering the vehicle or contemporaneously, simultaneously?
I didn't look at my watch as to the time when I called the tow truck and when I started.
Okay. And the reason that Officer Thompson gave you for impounding the vehicle?
Because Mr. Marcellus had been arrested. He was going to jail.
All right. So, did you have the keys to the car?
No.
Did you have to force open the vehicle to
Yes.
inventory the contents? How did you do that?
Oh, we have, like a lockout kit with like a
Slim Jim?
little balloon thing, yeah, some gym type things.
So were you able to open the door? And was that you that did that, or was there another officer that did that?
No, it was me.
And then what did you do next?
Look for the property inside the vehicle and, called them out on the radio for another officer who was typing the inventory in on the.
So that be your chest mounted microphone?
Yeah,
And who was the other officer who took the inventory?
Joe McBride.
Joe, can you spell that?
McBride, I think it's McBride.
First name Joe?
Joseph.
Now for you, there's no need for you to communicate, or excuse me, turn on your overhead lights or activate the video in your car to do the inventory, right?
Well, my car wouldn't have, caught that on video anyway, just because it was parked across the road and down the street from the victims.
But it does also record the audio, right?
Yeah,
But you didn't activate your lights to activate the camera and thus the recording equipment in the car, in your car, right?
we didn't activate our lights, we didn't always have to turn it on, we did record, but I don't recall doing that. I had my body cam.
So do you remember the property that you found in Mr. Archuleta's vehicle?
Not all of it, it was written on the income form, I did record some of it on my report.
And who else was helping you besides Officer McBride?
I believe Sergeant Jones was there and he helped me open a safe that was found inside the trunk.
Other than opening the safe, did he help you in identifying the property that was going to be inventory? Who located the safe in the trunk?
I did.
And Sergeant Jones, why did he need to help you open that safe?
And I didn't have a pry bar open.
Okay, so he went actually to his car to get a pry bar and come back,
I don't know where he got the pry bar from.
but it was him that was using a pry bar to get the safe open. And what was his involvement after he opened the safe? Did he
He just stood by while we went through the property that was inside the safe.
Okay. When you say we, is that meaning you and Sergeant Jones?
Yeah, well, he was standing by me when I did it.
Was there any other officers there besides yourself and Sergeant Jones?
Officer McBride was in the car.
But he's back a ways in his
Sort
shoulder.
of like right behind, Mr. Archuleta's car.
So did he pull his patrol vehicle up behind Mr. Archuleta's vehicle at that time?
Yeah.
Or before, when you began the process of the inventory search?
Yeah, around about that time.
Did he have his overhead lights on, you know?
I do not know.
So there were some controlled substances that were found in the lock safe, is that right?
Yes.
And at the time that the safe was open, were you able to determine just from a visual inspection of whatever it was that was there, that there was possibly some contraband?
You mean just by looking at it?
Looking inside the safe, yes.
Not just by looking at it, no.
Okay. Did you have gloves on at the time?
I don't recall.
So, and it was, who removed the items out of the safe to determine that they were controlled substances?
I didn't.
Did Sergeant Jones remove any items out of that safe while you were standing there?
No.
Did you speak with the tow truck driver when the tow truck driver arrived?
I don't really recall. I think I may have handed him the impound form.
Okay. Which would be all the items that you located in the vehicle, right?
I think the impound where, yeah, I think is where he typed it, we were able to fit everything on that.
Okay. Did you have the tow truck driver review that impound form and then sign that impound form?
No.
So that you'd be responsible for that, those particular items? Were those items placed back in the vehicle after they were located? Or did they continually stay in the vehicle?
Everything stayed in the vehicle, or stayed with the vehicle with the exception of anything that, I don't remember exactly what I put into evidence except for the controlled substances. I don't think I put anything else in there.
Okay. And then the tow truck driver, were you there when the tow truck driver put the car either up? Was it just a hook and just towed away, or was it actually taken and put on a flatbed?
I don't remember if it was a flatbed or if it was a.
But you were there when it was removed from the scene. Do your forms have, they duplicate, triplicate? Inventory.
Our city impound, safety impound. Those ones we just print off.
So you get the printer in the.
We have a printer in the car, yep, and we'll print 2 or 3 copies off, because we need one for the owner of the vehicle, one for the tow company, and then one for our records.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Nothing else, Sean.
All right, hearing none on the floor, thank you. Next witness, Ms. Well.
You done? I should say mine then. Your Honor, at this time we call Isaac Archuleta to the stand.
Stand back and raise your hand. You solemnly swear that the testimony that you present in this hearing now before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Sit there, please.
Isaac, please state your full name, spell your last name for the record.
Isaac Yotapsu Archuleta, Archuleta.
You're familiar with your arrest on this particular evening, is that right? You know that this occurred in Riverdale, correct? You know exactly where it occurred at?
I don't know the street address or anything like that. I'm unfamiliar with Riverdale streets as far as like names and numbers.
Okay. But are you familiar with the general area where you parked your vehicle, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me how you parked your vehicle, where it was.
It was,
Would it be easier to draw a picture?
yeah.
Mike, you can use this if you want.
Well, I'm just gonna do this and we just make a copy of it and then scan it in the record. I'll do that.
Okay.
You're gonna do that? What vehicle was it that you drove to that particular location?
I drive a black Dodge Charger RT.
Properly licensed and registered at that time
It's always
and insured?
insured. feet or anything like that.
Okay, well, you finish your picture. All right, tell me what it is, maybe, Dean, if you wanna come up here.
Come up here, Bailiff. On this side here. Mr. Archuleta is welcome to come on, that's why I invited the bailiff.
All right. So, in this picture that you've drawn, this is the street in which you came to that particular area you drove to, right?
Drove all the way to this, where it ends right here,
Okay.
and I put it in here.
Okay. Now, you've got some wavy lines here,
These bottom wavy lines is gravel,
Okay.
that's grass, and there's some bushes back there.
Okay, and then there's the fence. Do you remember how high that fence is?
Since the driveway slopes down,
Uh-huh.
it's, I believe, it's on the slope right at the bottom of the slope, so if it's at the bottom of the slope on the driveway, if you're on the street, it looks nearly very low.
Okay. So when you heard the officer testify, he thought it was maybe a couple feet, maybe not more than 4 feet. Does that seem about right?
From the street level,
No, I'm talking about, but it's, if you're on the street level, is it that high?
Yeah, if we're standing on the street and I look at the fence, that
Yeah,
would,
yeah,
I can't remember exactly, but
okay,
you can see it.
okay. So, and this is the driveway, what are you saying?
Yeah,
That's the driveway right there. Okay.
What's the outline?
Is the square right here, is that the outline of your vehicle? Now,
Where's the bottom to the square?
yeah, maybe you wanna show,
I was completely off the street.
so either your front or your rear left tire was touching the street?
There was not one piece of my car touching the street.
Okay.
There
And,
was,
go ahead.
I said there was a car behind my car when I went on that page.
Okay. So the distance between your vehicle and the driveway, okay, there's a line here that's part of the driveway, that's just the roadway itself, there's no fencing there or anything like that, right? The fence is back here where you have the fence, right? So, how far back from the driveway now, is that asphalt or is that concrete?
Black asphalt, I believe.
Okay, what's the distance you believe that the front of your car was from that driveway? The very closest part of that driveway?
Couldn't be specific.
So you don't know how many feet?
I don't know, if I don't wanna say something, yeah.
Okay, but what do you think, just give you an estimate of the distance? Car length? Okay.
When I got arrested coming up this driveway, they arrested me, I didn't even get out of the driveway when the cops, because there was cops all here, and, there was already officers as I came out of the driveway at my car, and they arrested me in the driveway, walked me to my front door, and I did that office.
Good,
So I walked through the gravel to get to the house.
good. See, but you think at least a car length between the front of your car and the beginning of the drive? Okay, it's not. Thanks for the questions.
Mr. Saunders.
You drive, you said it's a Dodge Charger, what year?
That's it.
What's, the approximate value of that car? You had property in the car? Including the safe? Including the safe?
I had the safe that was in there. I don't know, I can't remember how I did that, so, I know some of the property was at that time I was going.
Some of the property in the safe was yours? Okay.
Paperwork.
You were, there was a protective order in place on this night, you were over there, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
The protected party was your girlfriend?
Yes, sir.
You were parked across the street from her sister's residence?
Not directly across. It was down the road.
Okay, how far? You were there. Kitty corner, that's fair enough?
Two houses maybe, but the house next door is a different property, so maybe I'm would say at least 30, 40 yards from her front door.
30 or 40 yards from where she lives.
From her front door, like, I don't know as far as like I mean, like I said, I don't know the feet where I said, yes, specify that, but I know I was, not right in front of her house.
You went over there though to that location,
Yes.
and you were pounding on the window?
Objection outside the scope of direct.
Pardon?
Objection outside the scope of direct.
Response?
It probably is.
Okay. Just giving you an opportunity to find a reason.
I don't have any further questions.
All right, very well. Anything else that you have, Mr. Paul?
The impound itself, you received a copy of the impound form as the officer indicated?
Yes, sir, I did.
And what did you see wherever you reviewed that?
Oh, thoroughly.
And tell me something, was there anything wrong with the impound that you received, or impound form that you received?
Yes, everything that was in, at the very bottom of that impound, I received from when I took it out of impound, they gave me a piece of paper, an inventory sheet, is what it says it is.
Yeah.
At the bottom of that, it says removed items. It specifically says, removed
Do you
items.
remember which items were removed?
A lot. There's a lot. There was jewelry, credit cards, losing passports, paperwork, everything that was in that safe.
Okay. You were able to ever retrieve any of that, those physical items from the city police department?
No, I went to the police station the next day, filed a complaint, and ended up getting in an argument. I believe it was that.
Okay.
He said, and walked out.
So they didn't have any of the property that they said they removed? I have no further questions.
Does that create new questions for the state?
No, no.
All right, you may stand down. Anything else, witnesses that you have to make record on, Mr.?
No, Your Honor, but I'm assuming the state department, you provide a copy of that as well as the Google photo that we've used, which I think is consistent with everything I've seen from that property, so.
Will you need that before you finish your brief?
I will need both, all three of those things before I finish my brief, yes.
Okay, and the piece of paper with the drawing that Mr. Archuleta made, you want to have Ms. Wood mark that as a number, and we can receive that?
Yeah. Defense
Any
exhibit number one.
objections to the drawing coming in as
No, Your Honor.
illustrative or demonstrative? All right, so this is a motion to suppress on this, and I assume it goes to the issue of the stop and the inventory search, is that correct?
Basically, the issue is whether or not they have the ability to tow a vehicle that's lawfully parked.
And how long will it take you now to finish your brief?
Well, I still need the inventory policy,
I know that.
so,
But you gotta go first, so pick a day and then I'll have him respond.
if I can have,
Assuming you get it in a reasonable period of time.
when, a week? I think you can get that stuff to me? Okay, then we can do, I need that by the 7th. I can have my brief done by the 21st.
All right, and how long will the state need?
Probably 2 weeks, Your Honor.
2 weeks after the 21st will be the January 4th.
And I have it to the 11th for reply.
Yeah, and then you get a defendant's reply, and that will be until the 11th, and we'll argue this on the 18th
That would be perfect.
of January, 11 o'clock. That's usually Mr. Boyle's regular schedule.
I like that time to run.
All right, anything further we need to do? I'll see Mr. Archuleta and you back on Thursday for the preliminary, or Friday for the preliminary hearing?
No, it's gonna be Roy Cole, it's gonna be handling that case.
Okay, so you're,
Yeah, I'll be back here on the 7th.
well, help me out. What about the one right below it? You
We
still,
have, so the three cases, 58, 59, and 60 are Mr. Boyle's cases. 59 and 60 are trailing 58.
right, and then,
Number 61 is Roy Cole.
Right.
I don't
you're
know
free.
that
So-
Mr. Cole could come on Friday, though.
No, he couldn't come on Friday.
No,
Okay.
but the two co-defendants will be handled on
Okay,
Friday.
we'll still handle those.
Dina Smith and Justin
Okay,
Martinez
so
will still be
Mr.
handled.
because he's had his preliminary hearing on the other matters. He's only got the motion to suppress, and the prelim that's being handled by Mr. Cole, there's a conflict, so we're hearing the co-defendants. I'm just making the record clear.
Right, and he's back on that case next Wednesday for decision of prelim.
Okay, so next Wednesday, by prelim on,
Decision.
Decision is prelim. Mr. Cole is new, so he didn't have the information to set a date here today. I asked him if he wanted to set a date to get caught up, and he said, no, I gotta come back with new matters next week. All right, I'll see you all later. Thank you.
You'll be here next week. I'll be here next week.